Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today for our Alternative Data Flash webinar. We're going to give everyone just another minute or two to join and then we'll get started. Thanks.
CB Insights will help you to find the next unicorn. Will help you to see where the smart money is investing. CBinsights.com will help you to discover the next hot industry. CB Insights.
Okay everyone, thanks for waiting. My name is Riley from CB Insights and I'll be walking you through a few housekeeping items before turning it over to Matt for the presentation. First, don't worry about taking notes as we'll be sending both the slides and recording to you right after the webinar. Second, if you have any technical difficulties during the webinar, your best bet is to reach out to the Citrix Help Desk. You can also tweet at us or send an email to webinar@cbinsights.com and we'll do our best to help. But again, we'll send everything out afterwards, so don't worry too much. Okay, so as with all our webinars, we'll be moving through a lot of data and insights and doing it pretty quickly, especially because this is a 10-minute webinar. But we also want to make sure that we're answering your questions and keeping this relevant. So throughout the webinar, feel free to ask us questions using the questions tab within GoToWebinar or via Twitter using the hashtag #AltData. So a little bit about CB Insights. We are a data science and machine learning organization that's backed by Pilot Growth Equity and the National Science Foundation. We track every private company in the world and all of the investment and financing activity related to them to help our clients answer questions about major trends, competitor strategy, potential disruptors, and much more. Now a little bit about Matt today. Matt is a senior research analyst here at CB Insights and a graduate from Northwestern University. He has been published in dozens of publications, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Financial Times, and more listed on there. He also launched and currently runs our insurance tech newsletter here at CB Insights that just passed 10,000 followers. And now I'm going to hand it off to Matt for the presentation.
Thanks, Riley. So I'm excited to be kicking off the first Flash webinar here at CB Insights on the topic of alternative data and institutional investing and the startups enabling this trend. Before we dive in, I think it'd be useful to get started with a definition of what we mean by alternative data. So there's quite a few definitions out there, but primarily the term has come to mean any kind of information that might affect an investment decision but isn't part of the traditional feed of company financials and market statistics. We're not going to dig too much into how alternative data is used in practice within investment funds today, but it's worth noting that certain institutional investors are building out internal R&D practices to build tailored strategies and models around alternative data streams and inputs, which might look something like this image on this slide from Gene Exter, who previously spent some time at R&D at Point72 Asset Management. So you see here some of what the processes within an R&D group at an institutional investment firm might look like. To date, a large portion of media and public attention is focused on the moves of big name asset managers like Bridgewater and Point72, which have each made headlines for hires in the sort of directional trend of integrating more unstructured data into their trading algorithms and capabilities. So in 2013, Greg Jensen at Bridgewater was quoted on a client call saying, from Twitter and Facebook, we can capture every time somebody is saying they bought a new car, can add those up and compare that to the stats and really be on the pulse of what's going on with auto sales or home sales. So you see here, some of the attention to date. And we recently hosted Matthew Granati on the topic of Point72 at our Future Fintech conference, where he really validated the topic of alternative data as a very real trend within institutional investing. You see the quote here. It's a real change from how investing used to work in the past, and you can sometimes know more about a company than the people you're talking to within the company know. And now more than ever, alternative data is going mainstream, at least when it comes to news mentions. So, most recently, the Wall Street Journal yesterday actually wrote a feature on some of the so-called data hunters who are tracking down new data sources for hedge funds to mine at obscure conferences, while The Economist devoted a feature to the topic in August, and you see some of the headlines here at various publications. And this is definitely a topic that's taken foothold, at least in the media and in sort of the public attention.